Recently, I've been thinking about if I could go back in time with the knowledge that I have today and change key moments in my life, could I have created a life with greater fulfillment, greater wealth, health, happiness, all that stuff? It's a tough question, but I thought it'd be worth exploring because I know there's a lot of guys out there at different stages in life who are experiencing challenges. And although I can't address each and every one of their challenges individually, I can offer you an insight, a thought, an idea. And that might be all you need to push yourself to the next step, to get out of bed in the morning, to find that next thing, that one thing that's going to push you forward and help you find your authentic life. So for the next 5 videos, I'm going to be talking about what it means to be solo as a man in life today, what the advantages are, how to work it so that you get the most from your life. This is Life 2.0. Let's get into it. Society would have us believe that we need to have a woman in our life to be complete as men. This is a falsehood. It's a complete falsehood, especially now. When you think about it, despite all the ooey gooey romantic stuff that we get into and that tingly feeling we get, at the end of the day, romantic relationships, like most other relationships, are transactional. Women hold the key to sex in this transaction, and men hold the key to commitment. When you give it a little bit of thought, you can recognize very quickly that sex is binary, meaning you're either getting it or you're not. But commitment, well, it's not quite so binary. It's more on a spectrum. Say from 0 to 10, where 0 is a one-night stand and 10 is a committed marriage. Well, there's a lot of gap in there between, say, like 2 and 8, where you might be able to have a pretty good, long-term, healthy relationship with a woman that would be very satisfying, enriching, growth-focused, all that stuff, but would keep you out of legal trouble. Plus, the other thing about sex is once that commitment is given, well, the commitment at the extreme level, at a 10, at a marriage, well, it's really tough to get out of because now you've got the legal ramifications of it. And sex can be withdrawn at any time. So the only way to maintain a healthy relationship with a woman is to have some kind of balance of power within that relationship. And that means that commitment has to be held in reserve. It cannot be given, maybe ever, especially at the level 10. But between levels 2 and 8, maybe even 9, I think you can get away with that. You know, I think you can have a pretty healthy, strong relationship. And that way, if your partner decides to withdraw the sex, well, the commitment can be withdrawn easily and efficiently with no legal entanglements. So being single doesn't mean being single. It just means not going all in, not going to a 10. Don't get married. I would argue that my channel's success is based around what I say in the last few seconds of every video. And that is stay healthy, and if you can, stay single. So over the course of these next 5 videos, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what it means to stay healthy and stay single. And not just healthy physically, but emotionally, financially, legally, psychologically, career-wise. There's just so many different aspects to our lives that we overlook, that we relegate to being part of a relationship, you know? It's like once you get married, then all these other decisions kind of fall into place. It's like, okay, you have narrowed your goals, you narrowed your focus down to just a handful of options because of this relationship. So when you remove the relationship, remove the marriage, well, suddenly the whole world opens up to you. And that's the thing that I don't think most guys realize. Decision making is always about selecting one thing over all things. You know what I mean? Like when you decide to buy a car, well, once you make that decision to buy that car, all the other cars might as well have just fallen off the planet. They don't exist for you anymore. It's like once you decide to marry a woman, you know, for the most part, you know, all the other women fall off the planet. Except that with women, it's more complicated because you're a protector and provider. So now your role has narrowed down to some degree. Now you have to make choices within a fairly limited framework that will provide and protect this new family that you've created, this woman. And so you may not be able to take the risks that you might otherwise take. You might not be able to do the things that you would otherwise do. So it's a lot more of a compromise than I think most guys realize. The foundation of Life 2.0 is that time is your most valuable resource and your most valuable asset, but I like to think of it more of as a resource. And really, for all of us, it doesn't matter when we start addressing these issues, time is still a very important factor because we're all going to die, and we all need to make use of the time that we have here now to achieve the things that we want to achieve. The critical element to time is remaining in the present moment. And I know that sounds kind of spiritual or something along that, but it's not. It's not. It's just keeping your focus on what you're doing. There's nothing woo-woo about it. It's easy for people to drift out of the moment, especially into the past, because there's so many regrets and shame and crazy bullshit that we drag into our present moment that are unnecessary. They're not needed here. But no matter where you are on this journey of life, staying present and focused on the things that are happening to you in the here and now will eliminate anxiety and depression. Because in this moment, unless someone's got a gun to your head or someone's threatening to beat you up or something like that, well, you're probably okay, you know? You're safe. You're gonna be fine. You don't need to worry about anything happening right now. So now that you've got this safe little space that you're in this very moment, it's just a matter of deciding what you're going to do with it. So in other videos, I've talked to some degree about how our belief systems are going to dictate our experience. So if you want to be happy, healthy, fulfilled, you want to be wealthy, you want to have a genuinely good life, it's not just about getting a woman out of your life. I mean, that's phase one. Phase two is you've got to monitor your thoughts, because your thoughts, when repeated over and over and over again, turn into your beliefs, and those beliefs dictate your experience. Well, where do those thoughts come from? They come from the things that you watch on TV, the things that you allow into your consciousness, the people that you meet, the places that you go, the books that you read. All of these things feed your brain with stuff to chew on, and that chewing turns into these thoughts, these concepts, these ideas that you have in your head. And that turns into these thoughts that repeat over and over and over again. And then you start looking for ways to confirm those thoughts that you're having. And they become beliefs. And that belief system then becomes the bedrock of your experience. And that experience is a direct reflection on that entire process. So you cannot be healthy, wealthy, happy, fulfilled, all the things that you're talking about wanting in your life, if the inputs at the beginning are toxic. Same thing goes for television. Same thing goes for porn. I would argue that pornography is not a healthy frame of mind to be in terms of the way that you live your life, because you're watching someone trade their self-respect and their dignity for money. Bottom line. And I just don't believe, personally, that that is a healthy way to feed your brain with the energy that it needs to create the life that you want. So when you think about what you want here, like the healthy, wealthy, fulfilled life, you gotta look over here at what the inputs are, because these inputs are gonna have a direct effect on what this output is. You cannot get the great output if you've got shitty inputs. Plain and simple. Staying present in this moment and experiencing gratitude for those things that you have, regardless of whether you've been through the hellish divorce or you're just at a difficult time in your life. In fact, I would argue that experiencing gratitude when you're at your lowest of lows is the most important time to experience it. When you're at the bottom, when you've hit failure, you've hit rock bottom, whatever it is, looking for those things that you can find that you're grateful for, that is the element that is going to propel you out of that depth and into better things. If you focus your attention on only those things that are going wrong, only those things that are causing you pain, only those things that are dragging you down, it becomes a feedback loop. It continues just that, like that. You're never going to get out of it. So long as you're focused on those things that cause you pain, you will never find the things that give you happiness and joy. So you've got to change your focus. And the easiest way to do that is shifting from feeling like a victim to feeling grateful for the things that you have. Because here's the thing, the victim mentality is what's going to destroy you. So long as you are in that victim mentality, you're going to repeat that process. The only way to shift from being a victim to being a happy, fulfilled person is to find those things that you're grateful for. When you say thank you, when you have gratitude, you're basically telling yourself and that there are more things like this out there, that there are more things to be grateful for. And as you start looking around your life, you're going to find more and more and more things to be grateful for. And it's through that process of gratitude that you pull yourself out. I know it seems kind of, woo-woo, but I'm telling you, it works. It works. So long as you're staying focused on the negative, you're going to get more of it. Your brain is a feedback machine, man. The more you tell it what you want from it, the more it'll give it to you. So you've got to tell it what you're looking for. If you're looking for gratitude, you're looking for things to be happy about, things to say thank you about, then just focus on those things that you're grateful for. And you'll find more and more and more things. I guarantee you, people who are wealthy are grateful for all that stuff. They wake up in the morning and go, it's good to be me, man. It's good to be me. That's the guy you want to be, It's good to be me. I'm glad that I get to live this life. Somebody's got to live a great life. It might as well be you. So why not start by just being grateful for the things that you have right now? Another thing that kind of gets in guys' heads is finding their self-worth, their value as a man. And this is something that's subjective, and you are the only person who can judge it. You're the person who has to decide what your value is. Only you are there every moment of your life, living it and observing it and seeing who you are and what you're doing with your life. If you're not satisfied with your performance so far, then change it. At the end of the day, though, you have to be self-validating. You must be the person who is the judge, the jury, and the executioner on your own life. So you're the person who has to decide, hey, I could have done that better. You need to be the person who reflects back on an experience and says, I didn't handle that the way I wanted to. And then think through how you could have handled it. So oftentimes when we have conflicts with people, we'll rerun that conflict over and over and over and over and over again in our head. And then I'll say this next time, and I should have said that, and I should have said that. I had a conflict with a girl on the trail, not a girl, a woman, and she was snarky to me, so I'm walking the dogs, and I've got 3 dogs. I got 2 dogs in one hand, 1 dog in the other. She's got 1 dog. And this dog is like a pit bull or some kind of mixed pit bull. And she seems very concerned about this dog's potential behavior. So I've got Shelby and Debu on one hand, and I've got Jax on the other, and she's coming at me on Jax's side. And she says something to me in passing, and I couldn't hear it. So I said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. What did you say? And she turned around and she said, I wanted you to move that 3rd dog over to your right so that my dog wouldn't attack it. And I just let it go. It's like, fine, whatever. And I just turned around and kept on walking. And then for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I kept thinking, oh, I could have really stung back at her. I could have said something snarky back to her. I could have called her a cunt or something like that. Or maybe you should be training your dog better. Don't be telling me how to handle my dogs. I mean, the whole thing, you start going through it. And then I stopped myself and said, wait a second. This is just some dumb woman who's afraid that her dog is poorly trained. Her life is probably stressed out. She probably doesn't have the time or the energy to train this dog appropriately. Probably doesn't get out on a leash very often. She's scared to death that something's going to happen. And she's being defensive. I don't need to think the most evil thing about her. I don't need to think she's a cunt. You know what I mean? I can see her as a human being, and I can give her slack. And I don't have to have this thought process about how I would have handled that in a more evil way or a more angry way to upset her. You know, I could think about how could I have handled that in a nicer way? How could I have eased that, that exchange so that the next time I see her on the trail, I don't feel like calling her a cunt and she doesn't call me something else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, evaluate yourself constantly. Constantly be your judge. If you don't want other people to judge you, to be a harsh judge of you, then you need to be a harsh judge of yourself. So in other videos, I've talked about the 5 C's of competence, character, courage, compassion, and confidence. When you have those things working for you, life becomes a lot easier. But each one of those things requires some attention. It's not something that's going to happen by accident. It's something that has to be very intentional. Character is probably the single most important thing. You can't expect other people to operate from a position of high character if you yourself are not willing to do it. And you need to operate from this place of high character like you're in a bubble, like you're the only guy, like you're the only one that matters. And if you can't bring high character to whatever it is that you're doing, and I'm talking about integrity, loyalty, honesty, all those things that we value as high character qualities in people, you've got to bring that to the table first. Because when you start bringing that to the table, you're going to find that in other people. When you think that it's okay for you to act in ways that are not in alignment with that because other people do it, then you are validating yourself through their behavior and giving yourself an excuse for not being the man that you should be. Critical mistake. Confidence in this process and knowing that you're going to reach your destination, that you have faith. Confidence and faith are one and the same. When you have confidence and faith in yourself to achieve the things that you want for yourself during your lifetime, then you will achieve them. You will achieve them. If you're lacking that confidence, it will show in everything that you do. I think a big part of the reason why a lot of men pick the wrong women is because they lack confidence in that arena of getting into relationships with women. And because they lack confidence in it, well, they struggle. And you know, weakness is something that people can see really, really quickly and easily. And women can sense weakness just like the dogs can. So you can't be lacking in confidence, because it's definitely a sign of weakness. Competence, being able to achieve something, being able to, having a skill set, something that you have to offer to the world that has value. The best way to look at it is, how can I help the most people achieve what they want? Because when you're helping other people achieve what they want, you will be achieving what you want. That's the critical element. How do I help the most people get what they want? Without getting into a whole lot of detail, but along the line, we're going to talk about this in one of the future videos. Starting your own business, I think, is a critical element to this process, because when you have control, you can determine how this competency of yours, this skill set, this product, whatever it may be, gets delivered, and who it gets delivered to, because that is the secret to success. That's where you're going to get it. Compassion. That's a big one. You've got to have compassion for others. You've got to see every human being as just another person out there trying to figure themselves out. Even when they're doing the worst, heinous, most ridiculously bad things, you need to realize that you are not in a position to judge. You are not in a position to judge. The only thing that you have to offer them is your compassion. Judgment will not get you there. If you're playing the judgment game, you're going to lose. You are going to lose, because you will find yourself being judged. Not just externally by other people, but internally by yourself. On some subconscious level, you know when you're being an asshole. You know it. You know, your brain knows that you're being an asshole, and you will feel the pain from that. There's no question about it. And final C is courage. Courage is something that you can't take for granted. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you've got the courage. And I'm not talking about just external acts of courage like jumping out of airplanes or getting into a ring at a UFC fight or something like that. I mean, that's courage. But It's really the courage to face your own demons. That's the difficult thing, is you've got to look inside yourself and you've got to see those areas where you're weak, and you've got to face it, and you've got to make yourself stronger. You cannot allow yourself to allow these weaknesses, whatever they may be. Like I'm talking about like addiction, I'm talking about like if you're into porn, if you are afraid of women, you know, if you feel like you're stupid, whatever it may be, and we all have our own thing, whatever it may be, you have got to face your own demons, and you've got to address them straight on. That takes courage. It's not easy. It's not one of those things that everyone can do. But when you are doing it, when you are addressing it as a man to become the best version of yourself, you're going to find that those demons are not nearly as scary when you look at them straight in the eye as they are when you're holding them at bay. Because as soon as you embrace them, as soon as you make them yours, as soon as they become your thing, you don't need so much courage. It gets really easy to deal with it, whatever it may be. The critical advantages to being a single man is that you are autonomous, meaning that you have complete control over your ability to make decisions. No one is limiting your dreams. No one is pushing you in any direction. You are solely responsible for who you become. That is a daunting idea for a lot of guys, because the idea that no one else is going to do it for you can both be liberating and it can be scary. You know, there's just no way around it. If you allow yourself to fall into the trap of being externally validated, Debu, come back here, pal, then you're going to lose all the advantages that come from being single. If you are generating your own intrinsic motivation, and you have this internal locus of control, meaning that you are seeking out those things that motivate you, that you are desiring for yourself, and you are motivated to achieve those things from an internal perspective, then you will be able to achieve greatness. But so long as you're looking outside of yourself, or you think that someone else is going to have something to do with it, then you're going to always be a victim of other people's whims. You're always going to be at the end of someone else's string. So that autonomy is a two-edged sword. On the one hand, yes, you are in control. On the other hand, you are in control. So whatever you get is what you get. So you take your successes with your failures and you assume that they're both going to come. You can't just think that this is going to be an easy ride, because it's not. You're going to have to achieve some things, and you're going to have to take some risks. And in order to take those risks, you're going to have to experience some failure. It's just part of the game. But with that authenticity comes something unique, is that you get to create your lifestyle, your music, your entertainment, your friends, your recreational activities. You get to decide for yourself how you're going to put this thing together. And that is the advantage that you have as a single man that married guys don't understand. Because when you're married, like I said earlier in the video, you're always pulling the cart for someone else. You're always trying to make sure that their needs are being met. And because of that, you're limited in the risks that you can take and the things that you can do that feel authentic to you. You're always compromising, your lifestyle in order to accommodate someone else's lifestyle. This is a crappy way to live. If you're in a relationship with someone, say a girlfriend, and she doesn't like something that you're doing, you can tell her to go pound sand, tell her to go screw herself. It doesn't matter. But if you're married and your wife starts laying this down on you, well, if it builds up over time, it could lead to a divorce, and then half your assets, half your income, your relationship with your children, all that stuff is at risk. So maintaining your autonomy and having that control over your relationship status, like I said, with that spectrum of relationships, keeping it between, say, a 2 and an 8, No zeros, no tens. You don't need one-night stands. You don't need marriage. Stay in that sweet spot in the middle, and you'll be fine. Because with that autonomy, you're going to be able to guide your life to exactly the places that you want to go. And that is the way life is meant to be lived. Now, if being a slave to a woman is what you're meant to be, then God bless you, man. I wish you the best. Good for you. But for those of you who have decided that you don't want to be a slave to a woman, that you don't want to be a slave to a marital institution, you don't want to give your life away to someone who's going to exploit you, and this is the path forward. This is the way. This is Life 2.0. That's all I got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who's going through a midlife crisis, or a young guy who is just getting started off in life, share this video with them. It'll give them some insights as to the next step that they can take. Like I said earlier, I don't know all the answers, but I do know how to open your mind up to the possibilities. And once you have that possibility, that's all you need to take the next step. It's just that one idea that makes all the difference in the world. All right, you guys, that's all I got. Stay healthy. If you can, stay single.